Hi, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Seal of Approval. Joining me this week, as always, is Scrump. How are you?
I'm pretty good. Got here just in time, literally moments before we came on air. Just some backstage goings on there. For I'm doing pretty good actually. I'm hoping this rain stops though. It's been like pouring it down ever since we had horrendous sunshine. We've had horrendous rain, so it's either one or the other here. The taps on or off. But I'm being very British and talking about the weather.
Fair enough. And I also got two new guests this week. First of all, 100% Omegon. How are you?
I didn't think you could commit to that, and I'm very happy that Scrump started with weather talk. It made me very happy, and I felt at home. In fact, it's been rather lovely here today, cold and sunny, which is weird.
Awesome. And also the offensive Tranny.
Hi.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. It's great to talk to fellow Europeans.
Yeah, so those who don't know, the offensive Tranny has, I think you basically do Instagram mostly, don't you?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, but he's now got a YouTube channel. It's actually pretty good, so I can't remember whether I put the link in the description, but if I'll be putting everyone's links in there. But yeah, you should go check it out. And he's pretty seems pretty black-pilled on a couple of things. This is one of the reasons why I kind of wanted to get him on the show. So this week I'm bringing something back which hasn't appeared on any of my streams for a good couple of months at this point, and it's something which is pretty awesome, which is the Seals of News. So the Seals of News...
the Seals of News are here.
Yes. So the Seals of News bring along with them various stories from the news, as seals want to do.
And I like how curious the super chat seal looks. Look at him. He's got mischief in his eyes.
He is. I like how the good news seal is kind of chuckling as well. But they're all fairly concerned with everything that's going on in the world. So, well, to start us off, Omegon, do you want to pick a seal of news?
Yeah, since I've vaguely paid attention to it, let's go with Hong Kong.
Okay, so so tell us a little bit about what's been happening in Hong Kong.
Their people are no longer free. Simples. China has signed Xi Jinping, I believe. Is that his name? Xi Jinping.
Xi Jinping.
Cool.
We need a ping, yes.
Thank you. He signed into law the that precious little bit of legislation that essentially revokes a fair amount of freedoms in Hong Kong and bans protests, I believe. Yeah.
So I've actually found I know it's the BBC, so it's not exactly the best.
I'll be honest, in the entire of reporting, they've actually not done so bad on this story.
On Hong Kong, no. It seems to be domestic and a US story. When it comes to culture war stuff, they're not reliable. Oh, yeah. But when it comes to reporting that they don't really seem to have a dog in the race, the BBC, a lot of media has been compromised by China, but the BBC thankfully hasn't. So they tend to be quite neutral on their reporting of Hong Kong, which I'm quite grateful for.
Yeah. And so they have quite a good list on basically everything which has happened to Hong Kong because of these new security laws. So basically, it puts that crimes of secession, subversion, terrorism, and collusion with foreign forces are punishable by a maximum sentence of life in prison. Damaging public transport facilities could be considered terrorism. Those found guilty will not be allowed to stand for public office. But I thought that was the case anyway. I mean, I know that Joshua Wong's group had tried to stand several times for election, and even when they were elected, the Chinese were able to do something that meant that they weren't able to sit in their seats.
Yeah, they charged them with something.
Yeah, they did.
It was either like them being charged with something. There was another thing as well. My head's gone a bit foggy on that. Beijing is establishing a security office in Hong Kong with its own law enforcement personnel. They say that some cases can be tried in mainland China, but that's only going to be a tiny number, which at the moment, it's only a tiny number anyway, because they've been caught when they've tried to basically ship people off onto the mainland. It does happen kind of regularly. But that's something where they're blatantly lying to the world, saying, "Oh, we're only going to do it to a handful of people. It's going to be everyone."
They have their slogan is what one country, two systems.
Yes.
Since 1997, China has looked for any excuse it can to take away the freedoms that Hong Kong has. Their chief executive in Hong Kong believes this ought to be a good thing. I can't think of any more of a greater slogan for her to resign.
Yeah, it is.
Failed Hong Kong, and their country is fantastic. I say Hong Kong's a country. They've done a fantastic job building a great economy.
Yeah,
but they did it with capitalism, not with Chinaism.
Yeah, Hong Kong is genuinely one of my favorite places in the world. It's why that I actually get quite passionate about everything that's going on there. And it's kind of annoying in a way that a lot of this seems to have fallen on to the side after last year, when it became almost a meme to just say freedom for Hong Kong and everything like that. That moment seems to have almost been moved, and a lot of people seem to have kind of forgotten that whilst, there's still the pandemic, there's still BLM and Antifa, but this is still going on as well, and it's got a hell of a lot worse.
Well, that kind of feels almost by design, in that they're doing this now because of the eyes of the world are. The news
elsewhere.
Is stretched quite thin in what it reports on. There's a lot of domestic strife, a lot of strife still going with the virus. And a lot of that is, at least partially, we can say, if not indirectly, then directly engineered by China and its operatives. Yeah. Because we've seen a lot of cases and a lot of news coming out about the virus, about the speculation, and some of the evidence that it may have been lab grown. There's especially the evidence that China promoted its spread once they couldn't contain it within their own population. Yeah. They decided the rest of the world should get it. That's pretty much without dispute. Yes. So it seems that they have kind of engineered a situation in which the news would not be looking at them, and then taken advantage of that situation to move into Hong Kong as they really had always planned to. For those who don't know about Hong Kong, it was supposed to have from 1997 until 2047, a 50-year essentially transition period where it had a very high degree of autonomy. China has violated the terms of basically the agreement in which Hong Kong was given back to them in 1997 by the British, who administered it before then. Hong Kong, like Taipei and Taiwan, has stood as kind of a thorn in the side of the Chinese administration, because they have flourished a lot better than most of mainland China has under non-direct rule from Beijing. Yeah. And that's been a big sticking point for them, because they don't like seeing parts of what they consider China being run by other people and being seen to be run better.
I like Taiwan.
I still want to go to Taiwan. But I've been to Hong Kong, I've been to mainland China, and you can definitely tell that Hong Kong is a step above mainland China. Probably the only place that kind of comes close that's on an equal setting is Shanghai, I would say. But even then, Shanghai is a lot more run down than Hong Kong is. That's just from my personal experience. Going back onto the list, one of the interesting things is that Beijing has the power on how any of these kind of new rules are being interpreted. So they get to veto anything. They take precedence over Hong Kong judicial law. There's going to be trials held behind closed doors, which of course that's how the CCP operates anyway. So that shouldn't come as a surprise. And also the law applies to non-permanent residents and people from outside of Hong Kong who aren't permanent residents of Hong Kong.
When this was announced, didn't Boris here announce that he would welcome Hong Kong all here?
Yes. So
I'm okay with that. Come on, we're fine. We've got a new point system that's being introduced, but you can all come anyway. It's not a conflict. It's fine.
It's kind of interesting because it's not to everyone in Hong Kong. It's just to, I think it's like, what do they call it? BNO.
I think so.
Is that the term? Yeah. So it only applies to around 3 million people. But I don't really have a lot of a problem with that, because the ethic in Hong Kong is one of capitalism, is one of working hard. It's not so much receiving state handouts.
I can't wait until we've cleared out space in the West Midlands, just some fields, and we call it New Hong Kong.
I want to know where they've
Very
talked about it.
I offer my old hometown of Reigate. Let's level the place and just turn it into New Hong Kong. It'd be fantastic.
I honestly, part of me would genuinely love it if they did kind of do that. Like they just actually build a specific city for these people.
That's a good point. Maybe we should just, yeah. How about we just, because I went to Nottingham once and I noticed how tall those buildings were. How about we level Nottingham instead? Do it to Nottingham. There we go. New Hong Kong, Nottingham.
So they were doing, there were protests carried out today, obviously, because a lot of these people aren't just going to bow down without a fight. According to the Hong Kong police, the latest I've seen, 370 people have already been arrested.
Yeah, it's going to get bigger.
A lot
bigger.
It's
a lot of people are suspecting that the number is probably far higher.
Yes.
I've seen reports saying it's at least north of 400. 370 is their official figure.
Yeah, they just can't prove it because, efficiency.
It's difficult. The situation on the ground is very fluid, but it's suspected that there has been basically mass crackdowns on protests, which is very different than what we've seen in other protests that have made the news a lot more regular. Let's say there was, I know there was a lot of action in Hong Kong against the authorities there, but recently, especially, there's been very little looting. A lot of what they did was they were attempting to shut down pieces of infrastructure the police used and the authorities used. And it's been a very different kind of ethic. They're in a very different environment, I think, to the protests we've seen in the West. And there's been a very different response. Whereas there hasn't been mass rounding up of protests here, even though they were a lot more violent and a lot less targeted.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's it. I mean, when they're targeting things, it's not like they're just smashing up shops, burning buildings down, and then getting kind of cheered on by the media.
No, a year ago they did have a slight problem where there was some looting, but they actually managed to stamp it out.
They took a lot more responsibility for it than what we're seeing with the current BLM riots, where everything just seems to be, well, it's either it's not us or, well, it's just justified anger. Like there's very little condemnation in a way of what's going on there. Whereas I feel like the Hong Kong protesters have a lot more responsibility in what they're doing. Their leaders, when you look at people like Joshua Wong, for example, they're not the ones calling for burning down the structures that they don't like, which is what you see with BLM leaders. That's one of the things they call for.
They have a lot more mass support as well. They like I said, they're only not in political power because they've been prevented from being there by all the bullshit from the Chinese authorities. Yes. They won. They basically, I know it was about a year ago now, but they completely decimated the pro-Chinese factions in the local elections. They got something like 90% of their candidates through. It was an absolute crazy landslide. Yeah. Whereas again, that hasn't been the case in the US. I know the Democrats had a bit of a stronger showing with Congress, but they had kind of a lukewarm majority there. And once again, Trump was still elected, and the Republicans still control the Senate and a lot of governorships. So it's not like there has been a massive electoral wave in the US like there has been in Hong Kong.
Have you seen some of the people who have been arrested so far?
I saw some of them were arrested for waving flags.
Clicked on the wrong thing.
Appearing and disappearing rows there.
Yeah, I am. My hair is this state, so that's why I'm not going on camera. Right. So which one is it? Oh, God damn it! This is on the really awkward things with got all these different tabs open and trying to figure out which. Yes, I got it. Right. So this was the first guy who got arrested under the new provisions. And so he was arrested for holding a flag which says Hong Kong independence.
Wow.
And the police made a big deal of this is not allowed. But if you look really, really close, let's see how much I can zoom in so you can see it. Are you able to see that?
No, not really.
Yes, I can.
Yeah, I can see that.
So it says no to Hong Kong independence. And it also has it in Cantonese as well. So so it's going to be very, very interesting when this guy gets taken to court.
That's fantastic.
That was awesome, especially because he was the first one to get arrested as well. They just
a really good standard there.
Again, it's a very big. There's no one who's actually being prosecuted in the US for simply holding a sign.
Yeah.
But they've got that freedom, haven't they? Hong Kong doesn't really have that. Does Hong Kong even have free speech?
No, I think they're supposed to have provisions for independent rule is the big thing.
Yeah,
and a lot of the people voted for that. They voted for freer expression, and they voted for all the candidates of the essentially protest parties. But no, they are not. They don't have like the equivalent of the First Amendment, which again, it's really. I'd say interesting, but it's more depressing about the gulf of news here between how the UK-US protests have been covered and how the Hong Kong protests have been covered. And they haven't. It's mostly
if they voided the agreement, this transition period agreement that we have with them.
Yeah.
Surely then Hong Kong is now our property.
No, because it wasn't something which was kind of like completely ratified in law. I think it was more like it was kind of more like a gentleman's agreement. Will probably be the best way of putting it.
It was 97. It was done by bloody Blair, wasn't it?
I think it was done just after Blair got into power. Like Blair,
it's all Blair's fault. It's all Blair's fault.
As much as I want to blame Blair.
I would say blame Major, but why bother? Blame Blair. It's easier.
But he'd only been in office
John
for
Major.
like 1 month.
You might as well
blame the Chinese.
You might as well blame like a blank square of wallpaper if you're blaming John Major. He's not the most.
They'd be like, kind of like blaming Gordon Brown as well, I guess.
Boring British prime ministers.
Well,
yeah. We've not heard much from you there. The Offensive Tranny, which I think is a great name, by the way. Really gets to the point.
Thank you.
So what are your thoughts on everything which is happening in Hong Kong? Have you been paying attention to it much?
Oh gosh, no, not a lot. I don't know that much about it, but I do follow the Australian guy, Avi. I can't say his last name.
Yemeni?
Yeah, I think he's great. But I think it's too complicated, and we don't really pay much attention to it like here. So, and I'm from Denmark, just to clarify.
You sounded kind of I know you're from Denmark, but you sound quite American.
Thank you. It's the goal.
Yeah. So, does anyone else have anything to add on the Hong Kong situation?
Free Hong Kong.
The only thing I would add is that I know Blizzard got raked across the coals for its response to Black Lives Matter versus its response to Hong Kong. But I think what we're seeing, especially with corporations, is that the difference between the influence that the American government has on its own corporations versus the influence that the Chinese government has on those corporations, it seems to be quite a lot more. Whereas US corporations aren't afraid to defy the Republican government that's in power, they are very much afraid to defy the Chinese because they know that they would get economically punished for it. Just keep an eye on that. It's follow the money as a lot of people always say. It's fascinating when you take note of who these media corporations feel safe standing up to and who they don't.
Yeah, but it's even the same with individual celebrities as well. I mean, like, look how many of them have been very quick to get on the knees for Black Lives Matter, or how often they will virtue signal about Trump. But then I don't think I've seen any A-lister even talk about this.
They'd never work on a movie again. If they're, in Hollywood, if you go out against the Chinese won't let, your production company, if you're on a movie, they won't let it be released in China, which completely eliminates that market. So you essentially become radioactive if you criticize China heavily and publicly.
But at the same time, these are people who try and make themselves out to be the moral arbiters. I mean, surely someone is willing to take that risk of not having a film appear in China anymore. Like, there must be someone. Sorry.
a lot of it seems to come from smaller independent creators, and the depressing part is that in a system where people are purely concerned about money at the end of the day, and that's what it comes down to, is that all of these companies that a lot of these people who are cultural activists think are their friends are just out to make a quick buck. And depressingly, no. Larger companies, even medium-sized companies, they will not take a stand because they are looking after their bottom line, and that's kind of it. And that's what I tell. When it comes to calling out what the large news media won't do and what the celebrities won't do, and what, like, I guess the strata of like the corporatist side of where our information comes from will not criticize. It's kind of up to us. We're kind of on our own out here, and it's not great, to be honest. There's a lot of independent voices, but you have to be an independent voice really to criticize China at the moment. Yeah. There is no, can you think of one large corporation or media company or anyone who is staunchly anti-China?
Not a single one. Like, literally no one. But it just this is why I hate the way when activism gets wound up with like corporations and companies. That's why things like Ben and Jerry's drive me up the wall so much. When they're like when they're driving up to CHAZ to give out ice cream. When they released that stupid ice cream flavor, is it like resist flavor ice cream? And they try and put themselves up as a moral arbiter. But all of these companies, all of these celebrities, they only ever speak about something which is financially safe, which is something that isn't going to have any kind of backlash. And they act as though they are doing something brave when they do it. Like, how many celebrities really back a cause which isn't related to a disease, anti-Trump, or is about climate change?
Yeah.
Like, I can't think of many who have anything which isn't one of those 3 points. And if they do, it might be someone like James Woods, but he's not really so much of an activist. He's just more of a cranky conservative.
And he doesn't really have much of a career anymore either. He's had his career.
No. Yeah, I mean, he's fairly, like, all he does now is occasionally he'll reprise the role of Hades for something if Disney need him, or he'll appear on Family Guy. Like, that's kind of about it, really. But none of them ever do anything, and so, like, I know, because we'll probably touch on this when we discuss Black Lives Matter in a little bit. Where you're seeing, like, some of them now kind of, maybe backing away from, like, outright supporting them, probably because they just realized they've bit off a little bit more than they could chew.
Have you seen the way that Sky Sports have done this? Patrice Evra, he was a former left back, I believe, for Manchester United, black. He was the first person who took the Black Lives Matter badge off his suit before one of the Match of the Day sort of reviews.
Oh,
and the rest followed suit with one of them. I think Matt Letitia, I think he was commenting on, and he had said the only reason he wore that badge was because Sky told him to wear it. And Patrice Evra took it off, and others followed suit because he has said he cannot endorse what they are doing at the moment. That's a very powerful statement. You had Terry Crews on Twitter also going nuts. Was that tweet? Everyone went nuts at him because he said
he very much didn't go nuts. He had a very sane, extremely level-headed take.
Changing the term Black Lives Matter to something else. I can't remember what the change was.
Black Lives Better, he said. We need to be careful that Black Lives Matter doesn't turn into Black Lives Better.
And everyone
people got very mad.
That was something.
I'm trying to see whether I can just pull up that tweet.
I have the tweet archived, actually. I can get it for you.
Okay.
Have you deleted it?
I've got it. Nope, it's still up.
I've got the tweet archived. I saved it for something else. I had it as well.
Yeah, I don't know how long it's going to stay up. If you are a child of God, you are my brother and sister. I have a family of every race, creed, and ideology. We must ensure Black Lives Matter doesn't morph into Black Lives Better.
Yeah, the responses to that. Oh, my life.
Let's see where we can find. Let's see where I'm interested in seeing whether. What's wrong with Black Lives Better? Why not better black safety? Why not prioritize our healing after 400 years of building this country through blood, sweat, and tears? That's not really what he means.
Yes, black people built America. Everything's made of cotton.
Yes.
I
was like when Jamila Jamil had that argument with Not So Obvious the other day about how it's so stupid.
She has a thing. I just want to poke a hole at her for a second.
Yeah.
She has a lot of arguments with a lot of people about how they present themselves online and the bodies and the images.
Yeah.
But she's going in on people who have the free choice to do that. What the fuck is wrong with you? Let them do their stupid shit. There's nothing wrong with that.
I really can't stand her. Of all the kind of woke celebrities, she's one of the ones who probably pisses me off the most, because she's one of those kinds of people who is constantly smug and constantly full of themselves over just how morally superior she is to everyone.
Nothing morally superior about her in the slightest. It's just constantly on the attack for people who make the decision to appear the way they want to appear.
Yeah.
But you're sending a bad message. That's their decision. It doesn't. Shut the fuck up. They can do whatever they want.
Wasn't she one of the people who was trying to share that be kinder message?
Yeah, she
earlier in the year
when Carolyn Flack passed away. Yes.
Yeah.
That disappeared quite fast, oddly enough.
Yeah, and then she had taken the piss out of Emily Hewittson's appearance at one point. Yeah, she's the young Tory.
Yeah, but she's also, when she got attacked, when people were criticizing her, she then deflected with her past. And I obviously don't condone what's happened to her in the past, but you threw that in there just to stop the criticism.
Oh yeah, I mean it was an easy kind of.
It kind of. Yeah, it kind of.
Scrump.
Did everyone else cut out then, or was it just Scrump?
I think Scrump has just completely cut out.
Yeah.
F.
Anyway, what was I about to say? I was about to say something.
I think it was Black Lives related.
Celebrities.
So the offensive tranny, what do you think on this situation?
About Black Lives Matter?
Yes.
I think someone made a tweet today saying that Black Lives Matter is not about equality, it's about revenge. And I think that's a pretty good statement. But I don't know. I'm seeing a lot of my friends and people who are not really political. They talk about this, and I think it's cringe because they think that you have to support Black Lives Matter to prove that you're not a racist, and that's really sad. So,
no, they're not. They need to make a differentiation between the movement and the actual kind of the statement. So it's one of those kind of Mott and Bailey movements where, who's going to disagree with the generic statement of Black Lives Matter? Because are you going to say, no, they don't matter? I don't think many people are going to do that. So they always fall behind that whenever they can. But
I like that whenever Black Lives Matter is trending on Twitter, afterwards, not long after, All Lives Matter is too. But when you look at the tweets, literally no one is tweeting All Lives Matter.
Yeah.
No, it's people saying, we're not saying all lives don't matter, we're just saying Black lives need to matter. Yeah. Okay, so basically no one was talking about it and you just decided to bring it up cause.
It's like every year when there's, I think it's like Men's Day or something.
Oh, International Men's Day in November,
Yes, and every year it'll always be trending. Oh, it's even International Men's Day on International Women's Day, where it will be trending on Twitter, where there'll be people saying, oh, by the way, there is an International Men's Day and it's on this day. It's people who are trying to think, oh, yeah, we're going to try and, catch off all the criticism. But nobody has actually complained about there, not being an International Men's Day for years. No. At the moment, they're just making their own problem and then just pointing out, why aren't people complaining about this?
I think the only people that really jumped on that was when Jess Phillips did. It was that one moment when she had a little chuckle at Phil Davis.
Yeah, she was laughing at male suicide. That's when people got really, really justifiably mad.
Wow.
It was, and that was also around when International Men's Day happened. There was that thing. A kid at York University, I believe, he wanted to talk about men's issues, and he ended up not surviving much longer because by choice, sadly, because the way the university handled it and they cancelled certain things and it hit him hard. And I felt really, and that kind of stuff was just fobbed off, and that's what made like International Men's Day quite, let's say, I'm not saying popular, but it gave it a lot more press, rightfully so, because apparently, according to Jess Phillips, every day is Men's Day. That's news to me. I haven't collected the patriarchy check, and I've yet to see this privilege I've been told I have.
Yeah, sorry, I just spit for a second there, by the way. I accidentally kicked a wire out.
Yeah, I wondered what was that, because you were about to say something. And then
I lost my train of thought there. Yeah, what was I actually talking about? I've completely forgotten. God damn it!
I have a question for you guys.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Do you have any like History Month, just like in America they have Black History Month or something like that? Do you have that in the UK?
Technically,
not really.
We technically do, but nobody pays attention to it unless
I'm really old, so I have no idea how the education system currently works. I have nieces that are currently learning how to spell the word house.
Oh, okay.
So I couldn't tell you, because back in my day, whippersnapper, no, it was not a thing. We did the wars, we did communism, we did maybe some American history if it was for curriculum, and lots and lots of Shakespeare because we love our neck pieces.
Yeah, because we don't have it here, and we're doing pretty all right without any month dedicated to minority groups.
It was suggested we needed it, though. Someone did. I do recall seeing that, but I don't think
it's a rough. By the way, the word you're looking for is a rough.
Is that what it's called? I need one.
I too kind of went to school like pre a lot of this bullshit really happening. I guess I went to it wasn't a private school, but it was it was kind of an in-between. It was a very, I guess, exclusive state school that was very oversubscribed, and they didn't really, it felt like an old grammar school, really. So I avoided a lot of the bad Blair education reforms and labor education reforms that ravaged a lot of our schools here. So I got a bit more of a traditional, again, we did a lot of Shakespeare, a lot of classical. I mean, you know, to put my education into context, I did classics and Latin at school. And those were quite standard, you know, those were subjects you could choose. And I did those right up until GCSE. But yeah, it's very different now. I think that it's not something the normal like British person acknowledges or knows about. But we don't have them on calendars and stuff like that either. Like we're more big on our bank holidays, our St. Patrick's Days, or you know, St. George's Day.
It's more for like organizations to kind of pay attention to, because I know LGBT History Month is held in February each year. Yes. I know that because I was a part of an LGBT group in university, and they made a big deal about it, obviously.
Okay.
And although lots of places where I've worked, they've had LGBT History Month stuff. Because the UK does have a Black History Month, but I know it's in a different month. Black History Month in America is in February. It's in a different month in the UK. October. Is it?
I don't know. I can't remember. All I remember about education back when I went to secondary school in 97 to 2002. Things we were not taught then. We certainly didn't have any history month. But also religion was a part-time thing. So a lot of those, for example, patrons on my server, a lot of them were taught Islam. I wasn't taught much religion, so I don't talk about it. Because I just don't care. And so when people mention it to me, I am arguably one of the least knowledgeable on the subject because I phase out. I don't care.
I remember in primary school, we were taught nothing but Christianity. It was only in high school that we were taught other religions.
I think in middle school, we used to sing hymns, and I grew up not knowing religion or atheism. So when I went to middle school and they were singing Gaudete or Water of Life and all this nonsense.
Water of life.
As everyone said in the school, water of life. I didn't know what they were singing about, and when the deputy head Gordon Bennett, that's not a joke.
That was his actual name.
when he put it one side, he explained it to me, and I was like, "You believe in ghosts, don't you?"
Oh God, I remember hymns.
So do I.
Yes.
I remember Water of Life.
We did Gaudete at Christmas in a church. It was the only time I went into a church, and I regretted every moment of it.
How old were you with that? Like,
sorry,
how old were you when you first went into the church?
that was year 6, 11, 10, 11. It was before Christmas.
Yeah.
10, yeah.
So I was going to church all the time in my primary school, and that was normal, bog standard primary school.
My parents are very, very, very liberal. They didn't care for religion. They didn't care for it. I didn't know about it until I went to middle school and they mentioned it, and I was like, "This is absolute bollocks." Oh, the teacher heard me.
Wow, weird. That's genuinely weird.
I went to it's a Church of England school. We had a chapel, and we had we had hymns every week. So
we had several. I think every single day we would sing.
Let's pick another seal, shall we?
We're kind of talking about Black Lives Matter, but let's give the seals another chance to shine, because they are the seals of news after all. They've gathered, they've come bearing glad tidings of terrible stuff that's going on in the world.
They look delicious.
No. You're right. We should do Black Lives. I just wanted to get the seals back on the screen because they're adorable, and I like that montage of seals. Nice.
Hang on. The one that says "good news" looks like a dog.
It does look like a Pomeranian.
I can assure you that is a baby harp seal.
X.
Okay.
I can assure you all of those, including the super chat one. He's the oldest of the lot.
We trust you.
So bear in mind we've kind of started to talk about BLM. The offensive tranny. Do you want to continue? Do you want to pick a seal?
Ooh, let's take Reddit.
Reddit. Okay, so we'll come back to BLM in a little bit. So, what do you know about what's been happening with Reddit?
Someone texted me saying that LGBT conservatives are being banned, but I haven't heard anything else.
Well, yeah, right-wing LGBT, which I think it was like the only Reddit board that I even go on anymore. Occasionally, that was banned amongst loads of others. I've got a list of all the ones that have been banned. Some of them are pretty spicy. Some
of them are very lukewarm, though. That's the thing. Like r/Big Chungus got banned.
So National Socialist, Consume Product, Smuggies, Diversity News, Campus Conservative, Based Yes Guy, Which way Western Man, Shoe Polish Pete, We was Kangs, Groiper Movement, Goosler, Anti-Simp, Nationalism, The Donald, but that was barely even used at that time.
That's a lot of bands.
There's so many. Yeah, there's right-wing LGBT,
Wow.
Gender Critical. I think Gender Critical is one of the biggest ones that was banned, because that one's
Doesn't surprise me.
Gender Critical. I know they also banned the Chapel Trap House Reddit.
Yes,
so that was kind of, I think to throw a bone to say, look, we're not completely one-sided. We'll ban this one community. Which, fair enough, there were a lot of active threats on that community, more so than I think any other community I've ever seen. But I also think it was hilarious because it was a bunch of ultra leftists getting extremely blackpilled about everything. So it was always I'm going to miss that one. In fact, I'm going to miss that one out of most out of the whole bunch, because I used to read that and it used to be hilarious. And I think that Reddit is really shooting itself in the foot, as most of mainstream social media is. I think the 2020 election might actually be the death, like the suicide of a lot of social media. This is, I think, the beginning of the end, and it's not coming at a good time as well, because I know Trump is working out guidance with the Justice Department and other departments in the US about potentially regulating social media, or at least removing some of their protections. So not the best move, guys.
No. Some of these are where's the where the hell did the list go? There it is. Like some of the one which really stood out to me out of all of them is the Holodomor subreddit.
Yeah, that's weird.
Like, that is a really, really strange one. Like, this is I can see that there were a couple of ones which are clearly kind of debating, or kind of like Holocaust denial. Like there's one called Holocaust Fake. There's another one which is like a reference to Holocaust revision, really wooden doors. I'm guessing that one is a Holocaust denial one. Wojak. There's some band Big Mouth. There's another one.
They just didn't like that stupid cartoon.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Oh, well, one which I only just found out about before we went live though. Wu Mao Patrol.
What?
Do you know? So a Wu Mao is someone who is effectively paid by the Chinese government to go online and spread propaganda, act nationalistic about the Chinese government, and usually to just shout down anyone who speaks ill of Winnie the Pooh. Like they, and so that seems to be a subreddit that points out all of the stupidity that these people go through.
A lot of this stuff as well is very notably anti-China.
Yeah,
there seems to be again this undercurrent of the Chinese paymasters of US big tech and media very much pulling the strings at the moment. That these purges of so-called right-wingers, trying to get rid of quote-unquote hate speech.
Yes.
They're also cleaning house for a lot of the anti-China stuff too.
Yeah. And that one really kind of woke me up. Is there much of a connection between Reddit and China? Do you know? I'm assuming there probably is, but
they in a lot of their rounds of if you go through a lot of the companies that have invested in Reddit, it's not as substantial as something like Tencent investing in Epic, but there are rounds of funding that Reddit has received that has contained Chinese money. And I know because they basically, big tech, social media, and a lot of the online news sites really just subsist on angel investment. They subsist on rounds of investor funding. They don't actually make money. Reddit doesn't make money. Twitter doesn't make money. Facebook is one of the few amongst them that does make money, but it does so by being incredibly egregious with its practices. So what you end up with is that it might not even be that Reddit has a lot of Chinese investment already, but you can be damn well sure they're trying to attract it because that's the only way they will survive.
That list is going to grow, by the way, of the bans.
So you think that more subreddits are going to be banned?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it's absolutely clear. Like, there was one that I had a look at yesterday. I think it's called r/True Scum, and they were celebrating that the likes of the gender critical subreddit were banned. One of the moderators said that he was like a part of this. One of the mods that was like pressuring Reddit into taking action against hate speech. And I just thought, like, how ludicrous can you get? Like, this is a subreddit that is banned. Like, basically, the whole purpose of it is taking the piss out of like the trans trender types. The kind of the Tumblrites, like blue hairs. It's all about taking the piss out of them and people venting their frustrations. And for some reason, they seem to think that they will be allowed to do that in the new Reddit order. Yeah. It's insane that they genuinely are pushing for something that is only going to bite them back twice as hard. Like, okay, our gender critical was not a particularly nice place. Like, the few times that I ever had a look on it, like, they were really quite nasty. But if you start calling for them to be banned and then you start celebrating when, like, the kind of the trenders consider your threads to be just as bad, if not worse, as theirs. Like, what the hell?
Well, there's also the case that a lot of I know they banned all the Chapel Trap House subreddits, but they've not banned stuff like r/anti-fascist subreddit. They've not banned all the communist subreddits. They've not really purged the far left from Reddit in the way that they've attempted to purge the right from Reddit, even the moderate right from Reddit.
Well, the rules allow them to do that because part of their new rules to go in is it's basically everyone's equal, but some groups are more equal than others.
Classic.
Yeah, so you are allowed to spread hate if it's a majority group.
Yeah, they specifically say that it has to be. Yeah, they specifically mention protected groups, whereas they don't mention what they consider majority groups, which aren't majorities.
They do use the word majority.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, they do. But like I said, what they do is they're quite sneaky in the way that they word it. In that basically those groups can be defined as they want. It's an arbitrary definition, and they can basically say this is allowed, this isn't. And by the way, we make up the terms of what is majority and minority group. Therefore, we doubly make up the terms of who gets banned. So fuck you.
Just quick super chats come in. First one of the evening. Muy Felicita with the 20 DKK. Love to the Rose of Discord crowd. Oh, well, thanks for coming out.
She's Danish. Oh my god.
Yeah. So I just wanted to just anyway. Let's carry on with the shit shirts Reddit. Like, did anyone notice that Reddit announced all of these bans the same day YouTube got rid of the likes of Stefan Molyneux?
Yes, I did. And it also coincided with the day that Facebook decided to crack down on a hodgepodge of groups it loosely identified as quote-unquote boogaloo groups. A lot of these were either gun groups or Second Amendment groups or just like shitposting groups. It's been like a real scattershot they fired at because the media has been working itself up into a frenzy about the quote-unquote boogaloo that they are terrified of. And Facebook has taken action removing any group that like mentions the word igloo in it. They seem to have hatred for the word igloo. Well, people were like, they were using stuff like big igloo, like Hawaiian shirt squad and stuff like that. It was a whole bunch of. I know it's dumb, but no, Facebook is basically banning any group that has an igloo or a Hawaiian shirt.
Oh, that's amazing. Like, I mean, as a bit of a side note, like I am starting to get like more and more convinced that there might be a genuine boogaloo at the end of the year. I am starting to come around to that idea.
Unfortunately, with the way things are trending, the only way this ends is, at least in the US, I think, probably mass violence. But I hope I'm wrong.
I mean, I don't want to be right. I don't want to be right. It's terrifying, but I'm genuinely starting to see like that as being the end result right now, and I think it will all kick off after election night.
Well, the point that everyone makes that's really plugged in is that I can't remember who said it, but you never leave your enemies with no escape route. You never leave them with no access to the discourse. You always give them some degree of hope. If you completely shut someone out of the debates and shut someone out of an electoral process, or shut someone, so that they don't feel they have an outlet that they can get out of without violence, that's when violence starts. And I think that's the point that a lot of the, unheard America has reached. The silent majority isn't going to be silent for much longer. And I think, especially with the abolish the police movement and the people in the cities, that what's going to happen is the situation there is going to become so lawless and so intolerable that, again, the people will reassert themselves because they have been left. They've been left no other recourse. That's what I see. And it's unfortunate, but I think it's the reality.
Yeah, and then you have the likes of Ken and Karen standing outside the mansion with their guns.
That was so epic.
And then, like, it appears that they might actually be investigated against.
No, that's being overblown. What's happening is the entire incident is being investigated, with the police actually mentioning specifically the protesters are likely guilty of what they call, I think it's like 4th degree assault through intimidation. It's like a misdemeanor, but still. Okay. They also have them on trespassing and property damage because they destroyed the gate.
That's good. Because for a second, I thought the way that I had heard it through the grapevine was that I can't remember what their names actually are. I don't just want to call them the Karens.
They're colloquially Karen and Ken. I don't want to use their real names because people try to constantly
always be Karen and Ken.
Yeah.
So yeah, I genuinely thought it was the police that were or the state that was actually kind of pushing for action against them personally. I mean,
no, they're investigating. A lot of people took the fact that the incident is being investigated to mean that they are specifically being persecuted. That is not what is happening. I think people need to listen to what the police department actually said. The entire incident is being investigated.
Good.
Did you guys see? Did you guys see? There was like this rally, defund the police, and they actually requested to get police officers at the event to protect them.
I saw that. I saw that. That had me in stitches. No love irony.
Oh yeah.
It's the officer who actually like put it on TikTok or something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That was the
I think
best.
so.
That was fantastic.
The
I'm
irony.
liking all the Karen and Ken memes though. There's a lot of "I no longer want to grill" going on out there.
Oh, I just love it. I love the grill meme.
My favorite one is it's a big like explosion behind Ken. He just wants to grill now. He just wants to kill Suburban Commando. Because he's got a proper dad bod and everything. I love it.
Have you seen Karen's top?
very
where she
Miami
has
Vice.
mustard stains
Yeah,
on
right.
Yes.
Oh god, yeah. I love his memes. His memes are fantastic.
One of my favorite ones as well is the "fuck the Bloods, fuck the Crips, we from the HOA."
Yeah. Oh, that stuff's brilliant.
Oh god, memes.
We told you to mow your lawn. You didn't listen.
Where did the grill meme come from? Was that just JonTron?
No. It's been I just want to grill. Goddammit has been a meme for a little while.
Oh, that's it.
Because it was originally kind of like a bit of a boomer saying, and that kind of caught on as a that got perpetuated as an ism of like, you know, people always fight and I just want to grill, goddammit, and then it just kind of took on a life of its own as things have got worse. I can't find it right now, but there's a great one with like the right-wing death squad head on it that just says in the big letters, "I no longer want to grill," and that one just. It's like 2019. I just want to grill. Goddammit. 2020. I no longer want to grill.
Damn right.
See if you can find it. I want to see some of these memes actually. I want to see whether we can, if people can collect the memes, and then kind of put them in the chat. We could go through some of the memes at the end.
Hi, Mitch.
I love memes.
Oh, Mitch is there. Hey. With that being said, I might as well go through some super chats real quick. Where the hell is it? So I think a few have come through. Jedi Knight Anna Quinn Cringe Walker with the $10. Isn't it curious all these Chinese finance companies put out BLM iconography the same week as China authorizing the security bill and giving all protesters life imprisonment? Almost makes you think.
Really activates those almonds.
It sure does.
Mr. Really sweet and sour my chicken. Sorry. Who shoes my pork?
It really does. Like Mr. Whippy 101 with the €2 gets the noggin jogging. Indeed.
Oh, there it is.
My
friend sent it to me. Sorry, I'm big thank you to the Maya's Discord who was pulled this. I'll send them to you on Discord, but I got a bunch of memes now.
Do you want to read the last one?
Yeah, I'll just go through the super chats first. Edward Spongewood 89 with the $10. Group is protesting a statue currently, but a veteran and this young gal is shouting, "We don't do violence, but you love violence. These young kids don't remember the GD draft."
Oof.
Which one's the GD? I'm an idiot, aren't I? Well, it's a draft, so yeah. Oh, no, yeah.
I think they mean the goddamn draft, as in like being drafted.
Oh God, yes, yeah. I wonder how these kids would have reacted in like the Vietnam War or something.
I'm going to judge the next thing you read, by the way, the Mitch one.
Mitch with the £2. You've just been really waiting for this one.
I've got Audacity open. I'm ready to clip this.
Right. Moist.
You're in tune. It's fine. Clipped.
That's fine. Oh God. Oh God, damn it. What have I done? Right. Okay. Let me just bring it up.
What have you done?
Can't wait to see this master.
What have you done? Oh, there we go. Yeah, that one.
Oh my God.
Yes. Approved.
It hits just right.
It's quality.
So, does anyone else have anything to say on the Great Reddit Purge?
I'm just surprised because they've been doing this. They did it a few years ago, if I remember correctly. They every so often they have these purges, and it always seems to be like they're just reacting to something in advance, and that's fine. But they're going to get screwed eventually. By the way, I only use I try to use Reddit when I was looking at like SCPs and other communities related to that kind of creepypasta stuff.
Yeah,
and you have to. They're so locked down now. I can't get into any of them. They're massive cunts. I hate them all.
So, like, what do you have to?
You have to join and get. You have to get permissions to join the communities, and I never get approved at all.
Oh God!
So it just seems pointless.
Rose, have you seen that famous detransitioner Ella, who was on Blair's channel?
No, I haven't.
Okay, she's doing YouTube now, and she told us that she thought she was trans when she was not because of Reddit, and that doesn't surprise me.
Oh no!
Oh, the pink pilling Reddits were very, very prominent for a while.
That's like looking at WebMD for a diagnosis.
It is one of the big problems. I've seen a lot of these like detransitioners say that they were basically convinced into being trans through like online groups.
Yeah, it's
I just find that so strange, like how kind of prominent they're all kind of becoming. But at the same time, it doesn't surprise me because
sorry,
no, carry on.
Oh, it's almost like the trans community want, like the people who are a member of that, they want the community to grow for some reason, which is kind of gross because you need to be trans and all that. We don't wish more people are trans.
Yeah.
So, but it's like they do, are wishing that.
I find that a lot of it isn't so much that people are trying to turn people trans.
No.
But these are probably people who just kind of want to be trans.
Mm-hmm.
Because
I want to be. Sorry.
Is it wrong that like there's so many people in the chat? Gallia mentions there are a lot of gullible people in the world who just want to be part of an identity.
Yes.
Does it make me contrarian if at no point have I ever wanted to be a part of a community? I just want to get on. Carry on.
You're just a strong, independent man. You know.
I am a strong, independent, sexual swagness. Burko, yes, you're right.
Very much so.
I am John Burko. No. I can't do it properly, I'm afraid. I don't have the booming voice.
No, you don't have the tendencies either, and the retirement in disgrace.
Yeah, the Northern Napoleon complex. I'm just Burko, man.
We're just going on what Gali has just said. Like, I do think a lot of people do want to be part of an identity. That's why I think a lot of these groups aren't so much telling people to be trans, but there are a lot of people who are quite vulnerable and they want to be a part of something. And being trans is a low entry bar right now. And nowadays, to be in this wonderful intersectional world, you know, being an oppressed group carries with it currency.
Well, that's why a lot of people, I think, want to join these protests. A lot of them are kids who are bored during lockdown, who just want to feel like they're part of something.
Yeah. That's what I genuinely think that's what a lot of it is. So I don't think it's a case of there's like this trans cult going around converting people, but I think it's people who are very susceptible to seeing something with a very low bar for entry and decide to join in themselves, and nobody is turning around to them and saying, "Hold on, what the fuck are you doing?" No one's doing it.
It's very, very sad, actually.
Yeah. It doesn't make it any better that they're not actually trying to go out and convert people. Just them allowing this to happen makes them just as bad.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's my opinion on that business. So I think now we can return to the everyone's favorite seals of news.
Oh, they appear in a magical cloud.
They appear. So Scrump.
Me. No, don't make me do stuff. We should probably actually cover Black Lives Matter, since we've done it in pieces kind of already.
Yeah.
finish that bit off because I have some more to say about the whole Karen and Ken situation too, and some more memes, which is quite.
We want more.
Which is quite spicy. I don't think you'll get that tweet I sent you, but that had me laughing quite heartily.
I tried to. I thought it was one image, and so I tried to pull it in. I just ended up having like the Turner Diaries, and then
the thing is, it's the more you look at it, it's like, wait a minute. That is pretty much the same setup.
It kind of is. That's pretty spicy.
That's pretty spicy.
I get it.
I'm glad you did, because a lot of people go, "What's the Turner Diaries?" And I'm just like,
it's like, it's interesting.
Do you not know where they get Rope Day from? I'm just okay. You guys need to study that harder. There. Especially people who call themselves like anti-fascists as well. It's like you've never really familiarized yourself with the neo-fascist like literature, have you? Don't actually know your enemy, but
that's like when people don't read the Communist Manifesto who are against communism. Yeah,
like
it's not
John Peterson, for instance.
Like it's not even that it's a long book. It's pretty short.
It's a manifesto. It's a fucking manifesto. It's not War and Peace.
It's a toilet read. You sit on the toilet.
I'm going to
5
say
minutes later, done. Not even
the Communist Manifesto is actually shorter than most leftist memes. I will say.
You probably, to be honest, most of it could handily fit on a post-it note.
Yeah. Rich people bad. Take their money. By the way, the state controls it now. Oops.
We could just write the state controls everything. Done. Yeah. Okay, cool. Fantastic.
My comment on the Black Lives Matter at the moment is they are very much taking the Extinction Rebellion trajectory.
Yeah.
Because I think Black Lives Matter and the CHAZ subject are quite linked in this, because they've both really taken this big downturn this week, whereas people have. It's gone past the media fad. It's like there was this huge manufactured moment in the media. I don't know how far that reached outside the US. I mean, sorry, the UK to the US and the rest of Europe. What happened here with the Extinction Rebellion? But there's this big thing where they're saying this is the watershed moment. This is the big wake up call about climate change. British people are finally, engaged fully about climate change. And then there was this tipping point when those Extinction Rebellion people climbed on top of that commuter train and got dragged. They got dragged off. Yeah.
The Jubilee line.
Yes, it was. That was in a very, let's say, working class and ethnically diverse area of London.
Yeah. So they did the two, because there was the Jubilee line at Canning Town, and then there was also the DLR at Shadwell. The Shadwell one was hilarious, because you had that like 60-year-old white woman kind of like attaching herself to the train, and then like everyone having a go at her were basically all the people that leftists claim to represent.
Yes. There was also the one where the guys were dragged off the roof and people had to stop them killing them. Is the moment I'm talking about, when really I think people's curiosity turned to anger en masse, and I think that's really what we're experiencing here with Black Lives Matter, and that this week really has been the moment, despite all the rioting, the worst of it has happened weeks ago. But I think now that it's worn out its welcome in the news cycle and people are really starting to question what they're being fed, this is going to be a bad trajectory, I think, for every corporation. Like you were saying, the people who've now taken their badges off, who are now disavowing and saying that they were only supporting it because their corporate masters told them to. There's going to be a lot of embarrassment with this. I think, like you mentioned Ben and Jerry's earlier with the CHAZ, who I know Andy No put out a tweet telling them very rightly that we shouldn't forget how much corporate and city support they got there. They brought them portaloos that were regularly emptied. They brought them food. They had corporate sponsorship, and it's essentially embarrassed everyone who's tweeted out Black Lives Matter now. Everyone's starting to slowly slink back and pretend it's not happening or hasn't happened. It's interesting. I think it's a very interesting moment we found ourselves in.
What do you think the watershed moment is for BLM then? What was the turning point to you?
I think the turning point really was, especially here in the UK, was the attack on the statue of Churchill. And people are really only just digesting what that's all meant. And the fact that lockdowns are being reimposed, and in some areas, cases of coronavirus going up, and they're trying to desperately convince people that the protesters aren't responsible for this. I think now that we've had time to digest it, I don't think it's one real moment. I think it's the fact that people have had time to stand back and go, holy shit, this has actually happened and is happening. And these people are delusional and strange, and essentially a lot of them are agenda driven, and they've lied to us. Yeah. I think people, it's dawning on people now. Like, so the Terry Crews tweets have come out. A lot of people, like the corporate support for Black Lives Matter has stopped. Like there is no major corporation tweeting about this anymore. And I think now that the news cycle is starting to move on slightly, but dragging its feet and still being forced to report on this. I think it's just, it's interesting that I think it's just genuinely just starting to annoy people. It's become overexposed. It's like how people put up with Russell Brand, and then there was a moment everyone realized, holy shit, Russell Brand is terrible, and then he just never appeared anywhere ever again.
Oh, he does that True News on his YouTube channel, doesn't he? It's
the Trues.
It's such
Jesus Christ. Like, I've been wondering what had actually happened to him, because he did like Get Him to the Greek, and I think that was like the last film he did.
He made his money and walked away. Simples.
No, I think he had an interview at one point that went really badly, and everyone collectively realized that
Jonathan Ross thing kill it as well.
Yes, it did. When people realized that he wasn't pretending to be an idiot, he was just a fucking idiot.
Oh, he's a Hmong. He's an absolute Hmong.
I think what a lot of people presumed was that Black Lives Matter was an organization that was essentially good-hearted and had their heart in the right place, but had whipped up people into a bit of a frenzy who'd acted out. And now people are starting to realize that Black Lives Matter is just about acting out, and that their organizational structure is geared towards things that people don't necessarily actually want or need. And that, yes, the police can actually be, they won't be at the end of the phone at some point, and that's scaring people. I think honestly, the watershed moment here has been the turnaround in I don't want to move on the subject too quickly, but we'll talk about it later. But I think the real watershed here has been the turnaround in Seattle, and the fact that the mayor there, the America has been watching that with some fascination, and they essentially let the protesters get what they want, and people saw the end result of that, and they saw that the politicians had to really embarrassingly row back on their earlier statements. I think that has really soured a lot of the allies this movement had, because Antifa and Black Lives Matter are now joined at the hip, which is not what either of those people want.
So it's quite interesting with Seattle. Jenny Durkan, the mayor, she had to meet with those CHAZ or CHOP little folks and tell them that they had to that the barricades have to come down now. It's like, oh, we let you have your fun. Now we need to take it back. But they're still getting to keep the Eastern Precinct, which makes makes no sense.
Wait, so they still keep the Eastern Precinct?
They're taking down barricades. That's all they're doing at the moment. They haven't taken the whole place back.
So I'd heard that about 30 odd people have been arrested.
Yeah, I did some reading. There were some conflicting sources. The thing that said that, there was one that said that they weren't taking back the Eastern Precinct just yet. So taking back to area first and then pushing forward, I assume.
So they're very slowly taking it back.
They actually have taken it back now, though. Actually, within the last hour. Within the last hour, the police back into the precinct. This is literally from 50 minutes ago. So this is from before, after we started.
So I did a video on that thing earlier, so I didn't know that. But I did.
No. This
I definitely didn't know.
This has happened whilst we've been on air. I'll link to Rose, but...
Okay, F in the chat for CHOP or CHAZ, whichever you prefer.
Before we quickly move...
What? Oh, sorry. I'm just gonna say I watched the sorry, Rose. I'm moving on. Yeah, you go on.
I just before we start talking about CHAZ, there's just one point that I kind of want to raise about BLM UK. Like, I actually think the big turning point wasn't so much the attacks on Churchill, although of course that pissed off a lot of people in the country. But I'm looking at it more from the media side, and I think that was when BLM criticized Israel.
Oh yeah, they did, didn't they?
I think that's the turning point, because everyone knew, lots of people knew about the abolition of police, the anti-capitalism, dismantling the nuclear family, all of that kind of stuff. And so people were talking about it, but the corporations and the big name celebrities ignored it until BLM trotted out the typical far left line of just being like, oh, by the way, we said we were about race. Actually, no, fuck Israel.
Well, they also, the thing that Rebecca Long Bailey got sacked for was tweeting out a Black Lives Matter supporter essentially saying that Jews did George Floyd.
Yeah, well, it was the point that apparently the Israeli Secret Service taught the American police via seminars how to perform the neon neck because it's standard routine. And then there were people underneath in subsequent tweets with articles apparently confirming it, none of which did. And the Israeli police had to come out and say, "No, we don't bloody do this." Maxine, whatever the name, the person that's Peak, that's the name.
Yeah.
When she in the interview she gave that Rebecca Long Bailey or Wrong Daily retweeted, she herself said that she admits her own bias and that she was at the time when coronavirus and lockdown started, she herself was meant to be in Palestine, so she has a bias. She was always going to say something a little bit interesting. And I personally thought it was hilarious that Starmer acted as quickly as he did, because if he didn't act, it would have been more accusations levied at Labour saying, "You guys don't tackle anti-Semitism, do you? You suck."
When is that report coming out? Is it later on in the year?
That's meant to be coming out by the end of this month.
Oh, is it?
It's supposed to.
I think what will happen to it is what happened to the Grooming Gangs report, is that we'll get a summary on the report and we'll never actually see it.
We'll get cliff notes of the summary.
Yeah, we'll get cliff notes of the summary of the report.
Yeah, it'll be tragic. But we are supposed to get it.
What you're saying, Rose, is that as soon as Israel was mentioned, it got shut down. Is what you're saying? They shut it down.
The Goyim, no.
It's extremely.
I'm not using any kinds of FNAT talking points.
Extremely woke of you there, Rose, that you would say that as soon as Israel gets mentioned, the entire media complex decides that maybe they were wrong.
I sense a dog pile. I'm okay with this.
It's not what I'm saying. But it is one of those things that FNUTs did predict would happen.
It's it really does activate those almonds, doesn't it?
It's really annoying.
My almonds are like glowing at this point. They are iridescent.
Like
I'm looking forward
iridescent almonds. They are so activated.
Just to clarify, in case people think that I'm being an FNUT, what I mean is that I think that statement was so extreme from BLM UK that is what took the corporations to actually have a look at what this group stands for. Because at that point it was put out in their face and there's no way they could avoid it. I am not parroting any anti-Semitic FNAT.
I found it quite fascinating when Ice Cube he tweets out an image, which was that one that has the Illuminati and a bunch of what looked like very Jewish men around a Monopoly table.
Yes, the Monopoly table,
yeah. And that one's being retweeted by a lot of BLM supporters as well. And it took that image to finally start getting that sort of attention. I was laughing.
Did you see that Ice Cube shared it?
Yeah, because I covered it in a video. I thought it was hilarious. Oh, yeah. I couldn't help but laugh at that. I don't think he's anti-Semitic. I think he's a moron.
Oh, yeah. A friend of mine tricked Ice Cube into sharing. Oh, I need to find it. But back when I was on Twitter, one of my mutuals I had for a while, he's a good friend of mine. He tricked him into sharing something that was hilarious. There's been a bunch of cases like Ice Cube just went on a fucking tear and retweeted everything despite how nutty it looked. No, a lot of people as well. I've been talking to some of my more normie friends, and I was surprised because a lot of them ended up looking up Black Lives Matter stuff, and they found a lot of the melanin magic beliefs that they have. Do you guys know about the melanin magic shit?
Tell us about that. I've not. I about it.
Okay, a lot of it stems from the beliefs of the Black Israelites. They literally believe that melanin gives you special powers, gives you like superpowers, and that white people are morally and psychologically deficient because they lack melanin. And that's why white people are evil, because melanin is literally a magic substance. They also think that the slave trade was also secretly to harvest the melanin from black people so that white people could use it for their own nefarious purposes. UKBlackHistoryMonth.org has an entire week dedicated to these theories. If you go on blackhistory.org.
We need melanin. Not me. The white people need melanin. I think they should all emulate the German lady Martina Big, who injects it into her skin and has tits bigger than this planet, and thinks she is black. In fact, if anyone remembers her, she doesn't. I saw it at Heathrow once. It was the funniest thing ever.
You actually saw it?
Yeah, I walked right past her and then turned around and tried to get a photo with her. Her husband was quite welcoming, but she was not.
What's her name again?
Martina Big.
I was going to say, offensive Tranny, we've not really heard from you for a little bit. What are your thoughts on the? I'll get into the juicier stuff on Melanin Magic in a sec, but I just want to know what your thoughts were on kind of the souring of Black Lives Matter. Is that how you see it where you are? Has there been much activity where you are with the Black Lives Matter stuff?
We had a protest in our capital, Copenhagen. I can't remember when, but not that long ago, and 15,000 people attended, even though it's not allowed. But then it is allowed because if it is a political thing, then the pandemic is not a thing. Apparently, there's not a virus. So I thought that was really stupid. But I think a lot of people thought that was stupid. Luckily, and I think that's gonna wake some people up.
Yeah, I think the Schrodinger's flu aspect has again been one of the big drivers in souring people on the whole protests.
That's interesting. Have you had much in the way of protests in your areas? Because I'm in the southeast on the coast, and there's been nothing.
I've had them near my flat.
There's been nothing.
She is. What a beauty. By the way, she has a lot to learn. She said it on Maury. She has a lot to learn, but she believes she's black. I'd like her to now say one word. Good luck with that.
Yeah.
She looks, when you go into like a game that has character creation, and it's super customizable, and you turn all the sliders to ridiculous places. When I
saw her, I was on my way to see Machine Head, and she was wearing all white. I genuinely, for a second, had to take a moment just to realize that she wasn't Somalian. Because it was such a contrast. My eyes really struggled to focus on her.
The world went to black and white.
Certainly.
She gets those injections, right?
Yeah, she does, and lots of tanning beds as well. Her husband does it as well, but he's only orange.
Her husband kind of looks a bit like. Did you ever watch Come Fly With Me?
Yeah.
Yeah, he kind of looks a bit like. Let me see if I can bring up a picture of him. He kind of looks like the airline owner.
Yeah, he does, doesn't he?
Oh God, yeah. There they are.
Adorable couple.
He was a little darker when I saw him, but not much. Could have been the lighting.
That image looks Photoshop, but I know it's not.
The thing is, she wants to have kids, and I'm like, you do realize your kid's going to be really confused.
Yeah.
Like some pacey white German kid coming out and being like, what the fuck is this?
Why is mommy black?
Yeah. Why not adopted? I'm confused.
You see, when a mummy and a daddy and a needle full of melanin love each other. No. To get back to finishing my Melanin Magic thing, a lot of that comes from the Black Israelites, who are the people behind a Dash Right meme. That's right. They believe that black people are the true Israelites, and that the more melanin you have, the more like Jewish you are, quote unquote, like the more Israelite you are, and that white people were created by an evil scientist called Yakub, who created white people by draining out their melanin and making them evil, and therefore white people are literally soulless demons. That is what the Black Israelites actually believe, and they believe people like Mexicans and like Asian people and Indian people, they're all various mixes of white and black, and they're all various impurities, and that they think that the true people, the true like master race on the earth, are black people, and they are also God's chosen people, and the true Israelites as well. Yep, and a lot of Black Lives Matter people very much buy into this ideology. Like there's a big overlap between the upper echelons of Black Lives Matter, and the Black Israelite belief system. Like a lot of these people believe in melanin magic.
Can we get them in a room full of race realists, please? I'd like to see that.
The thing is, the Black Israelites and the white nationalists actually quite like each other, because the Black Israelites. Well, the Black Israelites believe that they should actually move back to Africa and create basically what's the state called from Black Panther?
Wakanda.
They literally believe they should move back to Africa and found Wakanda.
Yeah.
Didn't they kind of try and do that with Liberia?
Kind of, yes. No. The more extreme ends of the Black Israelites and the white nationalists both agree that
bring back Rhodesia.
Ethnicities should be segregated into their own nations.
I support Rhodesia.
That's the reason that Malcolm X was a Black Israelite, and he was great friends with George Lincoln Rockwell, the head of the U.S. Nazi Party. They were really good friends. That's not a joke. That's true. Because they agreed. They thought the races need to be segregated.
Wow. So I'll just go through some before we start talking about CHAZ. A few more super chats have come in. So Laisha with the £5. A lot of D-transes didn't know butch lesbian was a thing, so assumed that they were trans. Yeah, I can see that, especially if they're in like these LGBTQIA plus communities where everything and anything can be trans. I can totally see that being a thing. And Mitch again with the £2. Starmer got off his knee very quickly.
He did, and that virtue signaling prick with him and Angela Rayner on the knee, taking a knee in an office. I'm like, that's not you. Like, it's just it's an empty gesture. Go and do it in the protests in front of everyone first.
I will correct myself and say that Malcolm X was Nation of Islam, but the Nation of Islam and Black Israelites have very similar belief systems when it comes to melanin and black people being the real chosen people. So.
Right, so brought up the seals of news, and so I just kind of brought it up just for CHAZ, as we were kind of talking about it. So we might as well.
What is CHAZ, by the way?
It's Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone.
Yeah,
it's a 6-block area in Seattle that was taken over by a bunch of very peaceful protesters that had farmers, a very, very talented farmer, I might add. They had some peaceful protesters watching movies, and people making demands from their mothers for supplies, and they had a warlord.
I feel like you're
unironically, they, while being pro-immigration, had a wall.
Yeah, I've heard about that. That's
they also had a list of demands which they published online. There's about maybe near 50 to 100 demands. About 20% were actually fairly reasonable things that I think society should do anyway. The rest were just utter dog shit.
So what was everyone's favorite part of CHAZ? Like, what was everyone's favorite bit of CHAZ history?
Literally everything, because I love it.
The farm. I think the farm.
Yeah,
I grew up on farms. That was so funny to me. I was watching that. I was doing a political stream, and the co-host and I were watching these videos, and I couldn't stop crying. I couldn't, because I grew up on farms. I know, and they're just pouring soil on cardboard and raking it, and I'm like, what are you? Oh, you know what? I can't wait for you to make mashed potato with that.
No, you don't understand that. They thought that's what mulching was.
They had one flower in a pot sat on the soil on its own. That is the saddest, most pathetic flower I've ever seen.
Come on, do it grow.
Yeah. I also love some of the I love some of the signs as well that had requests, demands for supplies, and all of it was the cliche hipster list that just didn't have soy milk on it. It had everything you could think of. They could have been telling us they were making a pillow fort at that point, because that's what it looked like.
I think soap was right at the bottom as well.
Yeah, well, that's not surprising. They clearly don't know how to wash. They had a warlord. What do they need to wash?
I like they had the segregated
Watch and have a wall.
Oh yeah, the segregation. Fucking hell.
Oh, they had the wall of white people.
They did. They had a
clearing.
They did. Oh. It's not racism. It's not reverse racism. That's not a thing. This is just us. This is us standing up for injustice, putting those white bastards on blast.
Did you guys see that that picture with a white liberal getting arrested by a black cop, and then they said this is CHAZ?
Yeah,
that was brilliant.
That was pretty amusing, actually.
I think some of the far left, I think one of their favorite bits was when the black teenager got shot the other day.
Oh God! Have you looked into that closely? Have you seen the footage? Well, not the footage, but the audio.
I've seen a bit of the footage when they're saying like, "Oh, you're not dead. I'll whip you with the gun" or something along those lines. Do you mean?
Yeah, and then there's another shot that rings out. Well, there's also a bunch of them like bragging about how they've run out of ammo and how many times they'd like. It's the most ironic thing that a supposedly autonomous zone, which got changed to Occupy protest because they realized they weren't autonomous.
Well,
a protest that an Occupy protest that was ostensibly protesting police brutality and the death of black people at the hands of police was ended by their own emergent police brutality and the death of of a black teenager at the hands of self-appointed police. There's been a lot of very pointed criticism. There's been a lot of people talking. Well, why didn't you de-escalate this? Where was the social workers? Why weren't they wearing body cams?
Of course, yeah.
We can laugh. People have died, and the city is going to get sued into the ground over this. The residents are suing them. The shopkeepers are suing them. Everyone who got shot was suing them. The emergency services are suing them. They are going to have a bill that could run into billions.
So the mayor of Seattle claimed in a whole Twitter thread that she was going to start investing in housing and all these other social programs. But that money's clearly not going to go there now. It's going to have to go for these court cases. And by the way, it's not just going to go for those people involved in that. It's going to go towards those who complained, who had their properties damaged on the outside with loads of what basically looked like San Francisco with used needles and shit everywhere because they clearly didn't know how to use a toilet and they were shooting up. So come on.
I've been looking at some of the court documents and some of the lawsuits that have been filed, and a lot of this is extremely serious for the city because they were saying that they didn't have access to basic services and that they were essentially cut off from emergency services, which has led to them basically being denied their basic civil rights.
Yeah,
the city of Seattle will have to suffer. Possibly, each of these cases could cost them millions in punitive damages. They are demonstrated to have abandoned the citizens in that zone. It's mental. And I know the mayor of Seattle, whatever her name is, what is her name? Shit.
Linda. Oh no. I did a video on her earlier, and I've just forgotten her name. Jenny Durkin. Jenny Durkin. Sorry.
Right.
Yeah, Jenny Durkin. That's it. She has called out a councilwoman who was encouraging the protests, basically trying to scapegoat them. Like the mayor has forgotten that she said, this is going to be a summer of love. She told Trump to go back to his bunker, and that nothing was happening. Seattle's fine. Basically, she's had to row all that back now. And she wants to expel a council member. What's the name of her? Sorry, these stories I'm reading are terrible. They don't actually say the name of the councilwoman involved. God, I hate the news. But she wants to expel a councilwoman. I think she's called council. There it is. Kashama Stewart is the name of her. She came out and basically said that the shootings were caused by capitalism, which a lot of people have been laughing at. But she's attempting to move the blame from her office to this one lone councilwoman And she's doing this because this councilwoman was the one responsible for leading protesters to her house. That's why this got taken down. I don't think it was the shootings, because shootings have happened in the CHAZ before. Nobody's cared. I don't think it was the fact that CHAZ's appointed police were executing people. I think it's because the protesters turned up at her $7 million house, and it made her angry. And I think that, again, is going to be a massive... her political career is essentially over now. She will probably lose her primary.
They only went to her house because she said they needed to dismantle the barricades by a certain date, and they're like, no. You're not an ally. You need to resign now, Jenny. Which, I'll be honest, you don't need to resign, but you're not going to win your next election.
No.
But do you think that she would have, if they didn't turn up, then she would have still called them in to dismantle it?
No, I think she would have. No, I don't think she would have done.
No,
I think she would have just kept calling on them. She's called on them to leave before. That's the thing, and she's told them to dismantle it before, and they apparently agreed to it, if you remember, a few days ago, but nothing happened. The community leaders, quote unquote, that were talking to the mayor's office weren't worth a shit. She claimed that she'd sorted it. She claimed the CHAZ was shutting down after that second spate of shootings, and nothing happened. And then they came to her house, and magically something happened when they showed up on her doorstep, because she finally had to witness the mob herself.
Well, it's like that guy in Beverly Hills who was full on supporting the Antifa rioters burning down, was it like a police station? And then as soon as they turned up near his road, he flipped out. Like, do you remember that guy?
Sadly, I don't.
Ah, God damn it!
You mean the ESPN guy, the guy who was on ESPN?
That's him. Yes.
I have the screenshots somewhere probably buried, but yeah, he was the one who said burn it down, and then he was like, "No, not my neighborhood," like literally. And then someone said he was being a hypocrite, and he's like, "Yeah, you're damn right, I am. They're coming here."
It's kind of a common trend, really. Like everyone supports the mob until it's near their house. But just to kind of go back to earlier, yeah, because I live very close to central London, and like there was I remember going past a BLM protest that was in Peckham, and then obviously we've had, everything since then. But thankfully I won't have to put up with it much longer because I'm moving out of London in 3 weeks. And
oh my God, really?
Somewhere nice?
Wales
awesome.
for a bit,
Great.
and then hopefully Ireland. But just seeing what happens. In the meantime, though, it's just taking a bit of time off work.
Do
you have any plans to move to the US? I think I've heard you say that one.
Yeah, we talked about that. But it's one of those very much like wait and see things at the moment.
Yeah.
Like we started to make plans, and then BLM happened.
Oh, yeah.
And then half of America is on fire. And so we're kind of hanging tight a bit and just thinking like, what's the state of the country going to be like this time next year?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's
a big move.
Yeah,
the COVID-19 thing also did a bit of a number on a lot of travel.
Yeah, and it also had the Trump bringing in the what's it called? It's basically stopped immigration for coming into America until the end of the year.
Prohibited?
That's it, yes. Anyway, I think now is about the time for Scrump to tell us some good news for a change.
Yes.
Yes, I will do. I don't know. It seems to be the leading good news again. I hate to recycle old material, but there are some contained outbreaks right now. But in a lot of areas, new coronavirus deaths have actually dropped to 0. I know in the state of Massachusetts, in the greater Boston area, they have had no deaths for the first time since I think late March. And again, I know the media's all doom and gloom, and there have been some resurgences. Hilariously, just happenstance where a lot of the protests have been in these dense urban areas and towns. But so far, things once again have not been as bad as people predicted, especially when it comes to death rates. So You'll be hearing a lot of doom and gloom about localized outbreaks and local quarantines and case spikes and things like that. But actually, on the whole, things are still doing rather well, despite us opening back up a little bit. So cautiously optimistic there. Once again, not everyone's going to die. Don't believe a lot of the media doom and gloom, and stay safe out there. So that's about as I don't like reading fluff stories off about like I don't know a kitten's injured paw and shit like that as local news story stuff. But like the big story really is that again, despite local flare-ups, we're doing pretty good. So
I think now is the time where we decide who of this week's guests is worthy of the seal of approval for having the best opinions.
Did you make a poll this time?
I didn't.
I'm gonna okay. That's gonna be I'm gonna be in charge of making the polls.
Make sure
like the day before. Make sure you let me know who like the 100% confirmed guests are, and I will make the poll.
But, we'll do that in the future. But like like the way it's been the last couple of weeks, everyone put in the chat who you think deserves the seal of approval. And so far, I'm just seeing 2 votes for Omegon.
Who's that?
Who's Omegon? This is Mr. Sexual Spagnus.
Yes.
I'm using my real voice.
Yes, let's go with that. I'm not going to use the voice I normally use for that. Fuck that. That's just me into trouble.
Someone has said not Rose.
Ooh, tinfoil magnolia.
Damn.
Give me mod power. I want to time them out. I'll time them all out.
Omegon.
It's looking
moist.
Very moist.
I'm going to cast my vote as well. Time them out.
Yes,
time them out.
Yeah, time out. None of you are free from sin.
Time that prick out.
Man,
oh no!
Yeah.
Oh my God, this is mean.
What are people saying?
Oh
no!
Yes.
Oh.
Stop being mean to her. Rose sounds so sad now. I feel bad.
Beautiful.
I got a vote.
Hey,
you got a super chat saying white nationalist Rose deserve the seal.
Hey, it's a vote. It counts. We'll count it. You got one.
Rose is guilting people into voting now. It's very unclear. It's between me and Omegon, and I'm gonna flex and say I actually think I count more scrumps there. But I don't know, guys. Make your voices heard.
It's fine.
It is very, very close. So we need 2 more votes. And so now everyone's going for saying that I'm trying to go for a pity vote.
Well, to be fair, you're begging it. You're clearly begging it.
I won last week.
I'm seeing 2 more votes for Omegon there. So.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? I'm call. Yeah. So there's 1 more for Omegon. I'm calling it. Omegon, you win the seal.
Sexual Spagnus wins.
You win the seal of approval. So you get the idea that you got a good seal. I don't know.
Yeah, you're gonna get more praise and recognition than John Burko ever did. So. Where's my knighthood?
The reason I chose that image is because people get asking for a face reveal, and I couldn't be bothered to go stick one of an elephant man there.
Great.
So before we wrap things up, I just need to go for the seal of the week.
The best part.
This week's seal of the week is actually a virtual seal. So I've been playing this game called A Hat in Time, and it has this level. It has this level based on a cruise ship, and the cruise ship is manned entirely by baby seals. And they're trying their best, but they're getting up to all sorts of shenanigans. They're accidentally knocking things over, and they're just falling asleep and holding eggs. And it's just really, really cute. So like I wanted to give those seals recognition.
Also,
A Hat in Time is a really, really, really good game. Like, and I strongly recommend if people like games like Mario 64. I really recommend picking it up because it handles very similarly. Like it feels a lot like Mario Sunshine.
That does look kind of cool.
It is really good. Like it's on sale on Steam at the moment, but I have it on Switch because I'm a.
You'll never get it on sale on Switch then.
No.
they're like Rockstar. Oh, we'll lower the price of Red Dead 2 by $1.
Yeah, I hate Nintendo sales. It's like, oh yeah, we got 10% off this. Like, it'll be like it's Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. And I'm like, oh, yay. Like that's made my day. Anyway, they do. Oh god, it's one of those kinds of. It is a proper. To be fair to them, that is a proper seal meme. Like there are actual seal memes, which is egg and fibs, because of this video of a Weddle seal and someone basically put captions for what the seal was saying, and it just says egg and fibs a lot. So they know their seal lore. Anyway, I've got two more super chats to read out before we call it a night. Jedi Knight Anakin Cringewalker with the $5. When Starmer followed along Bailey, I got flashbacks to New Hope, where Vader is informed the last relics of the Old Order have been swept away.
Yes.
And Mr. Whippy 101 with the €2. White Nat Rose deserves the seal.
Yep. Yeah, that's what I saw.
God damn it. It was around this time last week where he had someone in a chat called Portrait Seal. And I just remember him just like we were talking about like how cute his like avatar is, and then all of a sudden he just put in like I'm going to say the N-word. Just to see.
Yeah, he did.
God bless it. Anyway, so with that, well, that case we'll end it here. So thank you so much to my special guests, Omegon and Defensive Tranny.
Thank you for having me.
I won. We.
I'll put them links to both of their channels in the description. Check them both out. I've been watching Omegon for quite a long time, so it's actually really cool to get him on the channel. And Offensive Tranny is.
To do some shilling of my own, I'm on Parler now. Unfortunately, you have to join Parler. I don't know. Parler's a bit gay in its own right, but I'm trying it out. So I'm on parler.com/scrumpmonkey. So if you want to follow me on Parler, go for it. It's all I have to shill right now.
I've been trying it. I'm an absolute boomer.
Rose can
confirm that actually.
It is weird. Like I like it. But at the same time, I'm very much aware that there might be some quite big problems with it. But we're just going to kind of see how it goes. Right now, it seems to be okay. But, we'll see how things go. Anyway, thanks, everyone, for tuning in. Thanks to my guests. Thanks to Scrump, as always. And we'll see you again next week at the same time.
Bye.
Bye.